Hello and thank you for joining the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Lagos records 500 COVID-19 deaths, blames inbound passengers for spread of third wave. Ifeanyi attacks Soludo over comments that WAEC school certificate holders should not be allowed to govern Anambra State, challenges him to a debate. And later on the show, in the aftermath of the ultimatum and threat by Emir of Muri, Miyetti Allah surrenders 11 suspected kidnappers to Taraba State Police Command. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Gani Kayode Balogun. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. As the COVID-19 third wave spread further, the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, is certainly not a happy man. Professor Abayomi disclosed that more than 500 deaths have been recorded from various isolation centers across the state. He blamed these on inbound passengers as the state has successfully quarantined 448 passengers as at August 19. Today, Lagos State, in as much as they are trying their best to make sure they nip this pandemic in the bud, but it's like people coming from outside the country, they are bent in sabotaging the effort of the government, because some of them were said to have left fake addresses, some of them were said to have, just look for a way out, and they didn't go through what they are meant to do.
Yes, and it's unfortunate that it's Nigerians who are doing this to fellow Nigerians. What they cannot do in those foreign lands, they come and do in their country. In those foreign lands, if they say no, you cannot go out after 10 p.m., if they say no, you cannot, your salons cannot open as part of the measures being taken to arrest the spread of COVID-19, nobody will open salons. But in Nigeria, we just behave like laws are not meant for us. And it's such a terrible situation, because what we have from the record emanating from the Lagos State government indicates clearly that even when people present so-called PCR certificates indicating that they are that they are negative, by the time they get here and they do another test, it turns out that they are positive. Of course, that is why random testing is of value, because you could do a test this afternoon and be infected maybe 2 hours later. So it's possible that indeed, they were tested over there and found to be free of the virus, but shortly after the test, maybe even in the course of the flight or something, then they became positive. But to not submit themselves to the measures that have been put in place is what I find very responsible, and government must descend heavily on people who will come into our country and refuse to quarantine. Rather than quarantine, they will give fake addresses, give fake phone numbers and all that, so that you cannot trace them. Because when you can't trace them, how do you even, some of the people, the secondary and even primary contacts that they had encountered, how do we begin to treat such people when we can't trace them? They made tracing such people impossible, because they refuse to drop their real contact addresses. People always find a way around the measures that we put in place, either at our airports or other places. And that's why I'm saying that, look, we have to get more serious. This is a virus that evidence points inexorably to the fact that it is spread largely by air travel. That is how it came to different parts of the world. If there was no air travel, maybe it would have been resisted to China. But air travel was the main catalyst for the spread of this thing, and that's why governments are putting measures in place at the entry points into their country to ensure that, okay, we are not saying people should not come into our country, but people coming into our country, we should know their status, we should be able to monitor them, get them to quarantine, get them to do a test as soon as they get here, and then before they leave, they will do another test. So this is there's no big deal in this. For people, for frequent travelers, this is what they go through. Why people don't want it to happen in our country, I just don't understand. And they are the ones, the Commissioner for Health in Lagos was right. They are the ones causing the spread of this third wave. This extremely dangerous and highly transmissible third wave. They are the ones causing it to spread when they refuse to quarantine.
It's like some Nigerians, during the first and second wave, they took it, especially people in the Lagos axis, they took it serious. But they are finding it difficult to adjust their lifestyle, to go back to the non-pharmaceutical interventions that has been preferred. Now, talking about this third wave, some people are still not taking it serious, and it's said to be deadlier.
No, it's not only deadlier, it also kills faster. Because, and this one is even attacking those who are fully vaccinated. That means they're also susceptible to infection, which to me is the danger that we face as a people. Don't forget, I don't have the figures now, but I know we've done less than 1% of our entire population when it comes to those who have taken complete dose of vaccination. But also don't forget that about 334,000, again, I don't have the figures. 334,000 are people who took the first dose and did not come back to take the second dose.
I wonder,
those who are coming to our country...
What's the essence of taking the first dose without coming to...
So basically what you said, because when they took the first dose, they thought they were in danger. Then when the thing went away, not totally, they assumed that nothing will happen. So that's why a lot of people just...
waste of resources.
Not only resources, it's even dangerous to them, because the one they took was half, and can only work halfway.
It's better you didn't take at all.
So it's better for your body to develop its own immunity than for it to be assisted halfway. So it doesn't work either one way or the other. I think what Dr. Wayami is saying, and I really pity the man, because he had been a victim of COVID himself. He knows the danger that you face in the public space, especially those coming from the airport. The news is distressing, because like I told you earlier, those who come to our country with this thing, the Delta variants, most of the time are short-term travelers. Those who spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and go back. So to even trace them, because it's so short, is a particular problem. Now the contacts they've come across is people that we cannot run away from. I think what we need to do now is tell the government to be more proactive. If a person gives you an address, please, no matter how much hurry the person is in, you must verify these things before they're allowed to leave the airport. It will be inconvenient, of course. A lot of people will feel the inconvenience, I agree. But it's better for a few people to suffer a few minutes of inconvenience for the entire Lagos state to start having this problem.
Going through these charts, the isolation center in Lagos, 600 bed capacity. Lagos is maybe this one particular center, but for a state of over 20 million people, it's just like a drop of water.
1 million passengers per day.
And that's why our best bet is to not
just avoid it.
Yes, because look, if we were to experience a full-blown attack, if I can use that word, full-blown attack of the Delta variant in our country, we are not going to survive it. We cannot. No. We do not have the health infrastructure.
What happened in India must not happen.
We do not have the health infrastructure to survive it. We do not. I've said before that, look, Abuja, the FCT, it has a population of 2 million people. the entire bed space is just about 30,000. Now, if COVID were to brutally descend on FCT, God forbid, what do? With just 30,000 bed spaces. We don't have enough oxygen. This particular variant is a guzzler of oxygen.
Yes.
As soon as you contract it and you need help, you need oxygen right there because it attacks the respiratory organs. Now, we are just in the request for more money that the president made. The environment that was approved the other day by the National Assembly. Part of what the money that the president is asking for is to build an oxygen plant. Because what we experienced in December when there was oxygen shortage, many lives were lost.
Yeah.
Especially in Abuja, even some VIPs. Because at the isolation center, they didn't have oxygen for days. So in order not to face this kind of problem again, the government wants to build oxygen plants because we know that this current strain of it consumes oxygen a lot. It requires oxygen. So this is the thing. Our people have to do the needful. I was going through some of those so-called red countries and the cases that they have recorded, and I was really, really terrified. Turkey has recorded 6.22 million cases and has recorded 54,000 deaths, 54,733 deaths. USA, 37.8 million cases. But the USA has recorded 628,000 deaths. India has recorded 32 million cases. Is following US closely. But India has recorded 429,000 deaths, which is huge. At a point, we thought that India was managing the thing. Suddenly, they lost control. Brazil has 20,570,891 cases. But Brazil has recorded 574,000 deaths. And currently, they have 547,000 infected because the figures come out every day. So look at all of these countries are ahead of us by far. We can't even compare ourselves to them when talking about health infrastructure, their capacity in the health sector. But look at the way people are dying in those countries. So we just have to be careful. We are fortunate as a country that this thing, when you even look at what South Africa is going through, Nigeria is a very fortunate country. It has pleased God to bless us so much, you know. So, yes, they have no choice but to cremate people. Where are they going to bury them? Where are they going to bury them? So, we have to be stricter. We've talked about how Rwanda manages this situation. You could say that Rwanda is just a one-city country. Yes, but if you are coming into my country, and Lagos is the #1 entry point into our country. Yeah. That's why Lagos suffers a lot. When you look at the figures on Lagos, you see clearly Lagos 166 new cases. And the closest will be 76. That is Rivers. You know, talking about the current cases. So Lagos is the #1 entry point and the #1 departure point from our country. If it is Lagos that we have to focus on, get the federal authorities to work with Lagos State to ensure that we are able to track these inbound passengers a lot more, then we have to do it. Once we can handle the situation perfectly in Lagos, honestly, everything will be fine.
All right, we have Otumba Bolaji on the line from Abuja. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm lucky to meet you today. I've always been following you since the past 2 years.
You're welcome.
So I'm lucky to get you today. This thing you are speaking about, the question I want to ask, Mr. Tisoloju, you have been giving them facts and figure. Does the government work on these things? It's like they are losing bearing, and we are taking it for granted. I want to portray what you have said in respect of the entry points. Why can't we put a sanction on all airports that is bringing our people? Because this is airborne, and we know it's we call it aeroplane, and it's airborne. Why can't our government do something? Why do we have to wait until things get worse? I remember when this thing was coming up, like what you have been explaining every day, that people ask, people fake addresses for us to cure ourselves. And when you get into the community, you spread it to thousands of people. Why can't the government look for what can prevent it than looking for this? Now here they say they want to build the oxygen plant. It's not automatic. Why don't we use the word prevention is better than cure, my brothers?
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. GKB, from what we've said so far, and when the first variant came, when the second time that we had it, second wave, sorry. So I thought the federal government and the state governments will use that window to put some things, because the weaknesses of our health sector and everything, we saw it, that they will use the opportunity to put some superstructures in place so that subsequent things, as we are witnessing cholera, any epidemic or disease outbreak, that we know a way how to curtail it. But we never learned anything, and nothing is in place. And we keep praying to God that somehow, God, we believe God is a Nigerian. He has been saving us from this.
And he will continue to do so. There are 2 points, really. Number one is the fact that I did not agree that they did not learn any lesson. Only that they learned the wrong lessons. Because normally the lesson we ought to have learned was that this is how this thing transmutes. Don't forget that as early as the second week, professors have been telling us that this variant is going to get more dangerous. They're going to be more vicious. That the one we started with are just like, I don't want to use the word, lightweights. That they will move into a place where it becomes very impossible to attack. But luckily today, the FDA in the US just approved the Pfizer vaccine totally. That means no longer conditional. That means they now have things to fight this. What we need to do first is what Gideon said. Let us be articulate when we are telling people what is expected under the protocol. We still have sacred cows who come in private jets, who don't obey the protocol. We still have flights that are delayed in such a manner they don't go through the protocol set by the government. We have flights that are coming in from certain parts of the world that were on the list when we first started, that had not been opened up, and there are no special attention paid to them. This, of course, will accumulate in what we are suffering now. What we need to do right now is very clear. Let the two governments, the state and the federal government, come up with more articulate protocol that cannot be disobeyed. That's the only thing. Stop telling us that because tracking is simple. Nobody's coming to Nigeria without a passport. The passport has their digital imprint. This can be traced. The only problem we have is that we cannot trace those they've met along the way.
Yes.
But the first step must be something we can do. If somebody said, my name is Mr. A, and he's not there, put his picture in the newspaper. This man has absconded.
Yes.
He's a danger to society. By the time you do that, 10, 15, 30 people will sit up. Because somebody somewhere will know him. I will tell him, I saw him yesterday. And that's how to go about it.
Okay, now, moving on to politics now. Ahead of the November 6th Anambra State governorship election, the war of words from contestants is precipitating a titanic electoral contest. The candidate of the Young Progressive Party, that's YPP, Senator Ifeanyi Uba, is miffed by the comment made by Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo of the All Progressive Grand Alliance, APGA, that YX certificate holders should not be allowed to govern the states. Uba is challenging the professor to a public debate to test the capacity to govern the southeast states. Wow, what is this? I don't know. Professor Chukwuma Soludo, former CBN governor.
Yes.
Tested and trusted. And another businessman.
Best graduating student.
Yeah.
First class student. You know.
Gotten all sorts of laurels in his 30s.
When he begins to talk, it can keep you spellbound for up to 3 hours. I've witnessed it myself. It's not a matter of, and it will sound so believable, except you have made up your mind that look, what this person is pushing is not the right thing. But when you know it's a teacher, you know, when he begins to talk, somehow you are arrested. So when I heard that Ifeanyi Ubah was challenging him to a debate, I kept asking myself that what is going on? A debate?
With the professor of economics?
That's taking the joke too far, honestly. He had his point. I agree with his point that, look, everyone does not have to be
Professor.
to hold a doctorate to rule. We've had leaders in our country who are not among the best educated, but they use some of the best educated, because if you surround yourself with the right people, your government will still be able to make impact. I agree that it makes sense to put educated people in government, to encourage educated people to be in government. Yes, it makes sense. But I disagree that only educated people can rule and can deliver good governance. The first thing that you need to deliver good governance is your conscience has to be, you have to be faithful to your conscience, you have to be honest, you must have integrity, and you must not be selfish. So if you are not selfish, you'll be able to also bring in the right people. Surround yourself with the right people. Those right people, they will work for you. We had a Brazil that his president was a cobbler. You know, cobbler, somebody who mends shoes. That's a cobbler. And he became president of Brazil. So he does not, you don't have to be a PhD holder to rule the people and rule well. It's your honesty that matters, and the readiness to hunt for the best and get those best to work with you. You know, that is what matters most. Most of the time, we are not interested in merit. We don't want to use people who are truly brilliant because we think that, no, they won't listen to us. So he has a point, but yes, too, occasionally we see people who are not educated who excel in government. But it is not in all cases. It's not all the time. In my view, we need brilliant people to come into government. And I've seen, even in this country, I've seen a man who was truly popular, very popular, but because he didn't go to school. And the people who were promoting him at a point had to tell themselves that, look, how does this man treat files? The people want him. He's extremely popular. That person was a candidate in one of the Northwest states. I will not mention that person. In the end, the powerful man who was behind him said, no, it's better we don't present this person. So the party dropped him, although the party paid
that price.
They paid the price because he did not, the candidate that they now brought failed to win the election. But you need brilliant people in government. But I disagree that only, in all cases, only the brilliant people can excel in government.
All right, I take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. Still Journalist Hangout. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're still counting down to the Anambra State governorship election and the big big bat between Professor Charles Soludo of the All Progressive Grand Alliance and the senator representing Youth Progressive Party. And when you look at Chief Uba, a businessman, and someone that is
very successful in business,
businessman, everything, and for him, it was a unique thing to come out under YPP, not APC, not ABGA, not PDP, and he became a senator. That means it's like a one-man riot squad. Talking in terms of grassroots appeal and everything, it's people, they know him, he's from Inewe.
They're comfortable with him. I think what we are witnessing is just the first leg of what's going to provide us with entertainment till the election in November. Because, as you know, all is fair in love and war. And if you can use your opponent's shortcomings, if it's a shortcoming in the first place, all well and good. I agree that it's good to have very educated people in government, but sometimes you also need people with native intelligence to provide the counterbalance when it comes to leadership. Don't forget that the man who wrote a book on failed states also failed when he was given a state to run, and he had to run away. So sometimes, as my people will say, overbook can even kill a system. I think what the Honorable Senator is saying, indirectly, is the fact that when faced with the professor in front of his own people, he can hold his own. And that's something GKB.
He can point out what he has done.
We'd like to see.
I think it's right on that score.
Let's look at it from the constitutional point of view. The minimum standard is a WAEC result or something equivalent to that. And a lot of people have been saying this. Say somebody that wants to occupy, I don't know about governorship, but for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that the standard should be raised a little bit.
Yes.
More than this.
Yes, I think a time in future we should see an amendment to the Electoral Act, to our Constitution, that will ensure that we can raise the bar. It diminishes us as a people to even say, look, this is the minimum standard.
60 years.
We've got to do something about that. And the holy books also preach that we should seek education. In fact, the fourth revelation to the holy prophet of Islam was that he should read. Read. That was the fourth revelation to him. And Prophet Muhammad also admonished the faithful to even go as far as China. Yes.
To seek knowledge.
To seek knowledge. So, knowledge is not something that we shouldn't aspire to have. Yes. Occasionally we see people with little or no education, they excel. You know, having studied the environment, they dominate the environment afterwards, they excel. I know people, big politicians today in our country with little or no education, but they are even better than many people who are educated in terms of the way they run their states and all that. You know, and every time they are given an opportunity, they do well. And they have little or no education, you know. So, and education is not simply Western education. So we have to get that right. He was saying something that I found amusing. That's the YPP senator saying, look, even the people that Professor Soludo is banking on to finance his election, that a good number of them did not go to school. You know, so what he's saying directly is, look, so you can take money from people who did not go to school to fund your campaign, but you can as well diminish those who did not go to school by saying that Anambra is too sophisticated to be handed over to someone who has just a school certificate. I think in the final analysis, what the people want to see is committed leadership. Committed leadership with capacity, and as I've said before, it is not education alone that can deliver capacity. Even experience, simply working with other people, you can learn on the job and become a good administrator yourself. So, but if I still must make a choice between the educated person and the one who is not educated to be my leader, I will choose the one who has education, because education enables you to have a fantastic worldview and be able to treat matters a lot on their merit. You know, you have the education will help you to navigate some treacherous situations, you know. So I believe that we do not have a choice.
I have Peter. Peter is calling us from Asaba in Delta State. Thank you for joining us, Peter.
How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Peter.
I greet TJ and yourself.
GKB.
Thank you, sir.
And the other gentleman in the studio.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I listen to you perfectly. And hello?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I listen to you perfectly. And I heard your GD and yourself and the other gentleman discussing the credentials of the two persons involved. What I want to say, credentials doesn't matter. Like GD said, you look at the background the person is coming from. Yes, I agree that Soludo has been our central bank governor for many years, and he has done well. He has a wide and global knowledge about economics and coming down to the microcosm of the state. I agree. The other gentleman is just picking up, but they don't use the delivery of democracy that matters. So what I want to say, we should not look at certificates. The constitution is clear that anybody who has to start, even with a G2, what do you call it? Failure of suicide can even become president of Nigeria. So that's why they are both qualified.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. I think we'll leave it there. Anambra, we'll be counting down to that election. It's going to be very interesting.
INEC has said that by September 7, it will come out with the final list of contestants in the election.
September 7.
September 7.
That will be just less than a month.
Less than
the election.
No, less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months.
The election
so
is first week of November. Yes.
So that whatever court case you are going to bring, Jankara injunction.
No, hopefully by that time, because INEC needs to print the ballot.
Yes.
So
this is so.
If by this time we don't know all of those who are contested,
yes.
how does INEC prepare sufficiently? So by September 7, I'm hoping that the issue of who is contesting, the legal battles will have been resolved, and then INEC will come up with a list. The people ought to, at least 2 months to the election, know who is contesting and be able to prepare to vote for such people.
All right, now finally on the show. If desperate situations demand desperate approaches, then the Emir of Mori in Taraba State, Alhaji Abbas Tafida, may be spot on when he issued a 30-day ultimatum to herdsmen to vacate the forest in the state or be flushed out. Barely 2 weeks after the ultimatum, leaders of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association has handed over 11 suspected kidnappers and gun runners to the state police commissioner Abimbola Sokoya on Sunday. Julie, this is a good development, and for the first time, the contribution of Miyetti Allah is seen as, you know, a lot of people believe that sometimes their attempt to shield this herdsmen, they don't want to distinguish the legitimate cattle areas from the Miyetti Allah criminals, from the herdsmen. So, this ultimatum of the Emir in Taraba State seems to be working.
It definitely has worked because the Emir said he will go after members of their families and they will be killed. That he was tired of his people being kidnapped, his people being raped. So we gave you land. We received you warmly. But you are here killing our people, kidnapping our people, raping our women. He said, we are going to kill you. Not only would we kill you, we will kill your brothers. We will not spare your sisters. So, and he warned them. He said, look, this is what will happen. Enough is enough. And he said that on Saturday. It was significant. So, Miyetti Allah said, okay, be patient with us. We are going to find the bad eggs amongst us. It's a good thing that a group agreed that, yes, there are bad eggs. This is what people had been saying before now. That there are bad eggs posturing as headsmen, but they are actually criminal headsmen. They are people who have now veered away from cattle herding to simply kidnapping people, to killing people, to raping people's women and all that. And you know how it is in the north, not just in the north, in any part of our country. The people don't joke with the sanctity of their women. And then you have some idiots raping people's women. Your blood will boil. That's why the emir had to come out to say, no, enough is enough. We are going to kill you. We won't spare you. Your members of your family we will kill unless this thing stops. Now they promised him that they said he should give them some time, that they were going to look for the bad eggs amongst them and hand those bad eggs over. And that's what we have seen. It is not easy for an emir to talk in the way that man spoke. The emir must have integrity. We have emirs in northern Nigeria who are in bed with the bandits. In Zamfara, how many times have they suspended district heads? Have they suspended emirs? And one even gave traditional title to a bandit, a known bandit. You honored him with a traditional title. And the governor was very angry. Look at what we are going through in Zamfara. Some communities are now totally taken over by, some villages totally taken over by bandits. The people have surrendered their villages. They've run away. You also, I'm sure that you saw something along the line of people in Sokoto, some of them abandoning their villages and going to reside inside Niger Republic. It can only happen because we tolerated these miscreants for too long. Now we've had an emir who said enough is enough. We have emirs who have integrity. Emirs who have integrity, they can give this kind of directive because in those days, going back into history, in those days, this was the way emirs spoke. Emirs had control. Emirs had integrity, and if they said something, everybody will fall in line. The emir of the Shehu of the Lamido of Adama, for example, people see him as someone who can also issue this kind of directive, and you have the same result. But you must have that integrity. People must respect you. Not an emir who fears bandits because he fears bandits. He does not want to be come under their attack. Therefore, he's trying to play along. No. That's not what we want.
Okay, I have Alwan on the line. Thank you for joining us.
So much, Ayo.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Good to have you. Yeah, you see, this problem, it is not like the emirs are afraid to talk, Ayo, as Babajide is saying. They are complicit in it. There is no way an emir or a district head that does not know strangers that come into his district. We have stayed in those kind of rural areas. We know how things operate there. Like one that was arrested in Zamfara. Babajide, do you know he is being detained in the government house? One of the district heads that was arrested being complicit with the bandits. They saw his phone calling the bandits. They saw cash about 30 million naira in his house. And they kept him. He is now in the government house in Zamfara State. Comfortably.
Being detained there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He has been there for almost 4 months. I am telling you this with authority because it is the truth. They gave him an apartment in the government house and kept him there for almost 5 years. What the hell is he doing there, Babajide? This is somebody that is complicit in arresting and killing his own people. What are you doing with him?
They should have locked him up in a prison.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think when people start talking, this is on the part of the district head and our emirs. On the part of Fulani, you don't have to wait for an emir or a district head to warn you and tell you to get out of his town. Push them out and bring them to justice. If not for anything, they have spoiled the name of Fulani. Because they are Fulani, and they are called Fulani X-Men. Push them out before any threat comes from any district head. That is what the Fulani should be doing, because they know them, they are their children.
Thank you for your contribution. With some valid points that you want to raise.
Yes, it's very correct. That insiders are the reason why we've not achieved more than we've done in the last 5 years now. That bandits seems to have taken over certain segments of our country. While I will applaud the emir, I don't think what is happening is enough to assume that all is well. We still have a long way to go. And like he said, Yorubas will say, "What you want?" A lot of people in government, a lot of people have been compromised. That's the word. And don't forget that what they said in the Prince by Machiavelli. The only people who can overthrow government are princes of the same royalty. So we need more people who hold positions like this to come out and lead by example. And that's the only way they can go, because remember, most of those who are caught doing this banditry are young men. And they know their sisters, they know their fathers. Remember the case of the man that took his father and said,
Turji.
So that means
he said, why did you arrest my father? You know where I am. Why didn't you come for me? Why should you go and arrest my father? And he went ahead and then kidnapped people. Then they released his father to him.
So you see, something is wrong somewhere. The process is still not really altruistic enough for us to say hallelujah. We still have a long way to go. We need more leaders to come out, especially at the local level, because it's not only in the north.
You know, if we were to have what he did replicated
across the states,
across the world, don't you think we will have greater peace?
Seriously,
because now Taraba had been facing so much attacks from bandits, and he just felt that enough was enough.
Yeah, he
was not going to pretend. He was not going to be politically correct. So people who are abusing him, what can they say now? Have these guys not produced the bad eggs? Immediately he harassed them. They knew that, look, in order not to push this man to the extreme, that they were going to release, they said they will identify the bad eggs among them, their group. And that's what they have done. And I know that even outside of Taraba, you know, outside of this Emir's kingdom, the Mietiala, they have bad eggs among their ranks. There is no group. Yes, there is no group that does not have bad eggs. So if we keep identifying the bad eggs amongst us, we are not shielding them, then we will be on the path to enduring peace. That's why I appreciate what the emir has done. Now, it's like he's been vindicated, because he knew there were bad eggs there, and he said, "Look, you must do something."
And he said it on Saturday.
Yes, and it was not.
It was not in the corner of a room.
No. He said it publicly. The video was everywhere.
He said it on the salad ground.
He said, "You can't come into my domain and be raping people's women and causing us to pay ransom." I mean, it's not these difficult times. People pay millions of naira in ransom. They sell their houses. Look at what is happening with those Bethel University students. I mean, secondary school students. They are now releasing them in batches. Just yesterday, they released another 15. Government has left the task of rescuing those children completely to their parents. Government is not bothered anymore. Oh, if your ward gets kidnapped, you are the one to go and look for how you are going to get that person out.
Look at the torture those children would have gone through
after all these months. What the torture of the parents,
the trauma.
See, the torture, the mental agony that the parent goes through will be greater than that of their children. You know, all these children, they are young, they can, you know. But the parents, it will be wondering, will this child come back alive? What is all this? And they have sold their houses.
I will keep telling them, the first job of government.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello?
Aruna, thank you.
How are you?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Please, I just want to know if they can identify those bandits that the Mieti Allah surrender to the Emir. Are they foreign Fulani or they are indigenous?
We will know that later. We don't know. They just surrendered them yesterday. So I'm sure they are still running some checks on them. So in the fullness of time, we will know. Because the emirs even mentioned where they were from. They are not. They are not from that state.
They're not indigenous really.
They are not from that state. According to him, they are not his own subjects. They came and he gave them land. They gave them land to operate. They received them warmly, only to start kidnapping the people. So that was why the man was angry. That was why he was angry.
We pray that the other emir should follow step with what this emir has done.
Yes, that is our hope too.
It's very careful because if you go to some villages, you will see what is happening. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
If you go to some villages, you see what is happening. Even when you know those that are behind all these things, you are scared to mention their name because they can come in the night and eliminate the whole family.
Yes, that's true. No, we know.
So we pray that God should lead us in this country because honestly, we are in a siege.
Yes, people know them. People know them. They know how they grew up. They know their parents. They know where they are from. Look at all of those major bandits. Dankremi, Dangote, Turuji, Alero, all of the people know them. They know where they are. So it's not a question. They are not ghosts. They are not ghosts. People know them.
They have
Dogo Gide, who spearheaded the kidnap of those Kagara schoolboys. Then people know them. Dogo Gide used to operate in Zamfara. Now is the one covering the Niger and some parts of Kaduna. Yes, after he killed Buhari Daji, he knew he could no longer stay there. So he now relocated and now controlling that whole area. You see, even when they are talking about money, you be wondering what's going on. Dogo Gide asking for 700 million
to do what?
As ransom. So it's not a question. We know them. We know them. We know where their camps are. We must not waste time to eliminate these people. They don't deserve to live. Just as the governor of Kaduna said, they've lost the right to life. If you can take people's lives, look at the students of the School of Agriculture in Bakura that they kidnapped. To kidnap those boys, they had to kill about 3 or 4 people. So they have lost the right to life. Therefore, the military, the armed forces should not hesitate to go and waste them wherever they are.
A final take on this, Chikobi?
Yeah.
A final take on this?
No, your boy is speaking. What is that?
I said, your final take on this?
My final take on something. I thought you were speaking French. I think what we need to do is very clear. Leaders at every level must throw away whatever they think they are gaining from these bandits and expose them. Because it is when we have peace that we can have prosperity. And all this money being given, I still don't know why they cannot be traced. I still don't know how they get back to the system.
People behind them.
And then you know that this is not just some 19-year-old boys. This is a well-organized syndicate operating at the highest level.
A big cartel.
Bandits requesting for 700 million.
Yes.
Almost 1 billion.
I have the audio. I listened to him and I understand.
But you know to come to this now. When
he was even boasting. He said, I'm the governor of the forest. He said, I'm the governor of the forest. He described himself as the governor of the forest. When they told him that the money was too much, he said, why should you say it's too much? Why should you say it's too much?
Ganika Idebalogun, thank you for your contribution today.
It's a pleasure.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Hope you had a nice time in
Garden City.
Garden City, yes.
And congratulations to Engineer Jose
Yes.
His wife, engineer.
Good man.
Yeah,
Good
one
man.
of our best hands.
Good man. And he got the best, the best show of love.
Yes, sir.
From
Yes,
an
sir.
appreciative TVC family.
Yes, sir. Congratulations, Engineer Dozie. And that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11, and don't forget to join us on Sunday from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Zubakun. Bye for now, and see you tomorrow.